All right. The length of the top of a table 4 meters greater than the width. Area is 96. Find the dimensions of the table. Okay, the top of a table is a rectangle, right? We're assuming. I mean, they should have said that, I guess. The tabletop is a rectangle. And they're saying the length is 4 greater than the width. The area is 96. Okay, let's start. So we're talking about a rectangle. What's the area of a rectangle formula?
LW?
Yeah, LW. Length times width. Remember that one? Good one to put on your 3x5 card. So area is length times width. Okay, I'll just write it right here. A is L times W. Okay. And so they're telling me the area is 96. So just put that in 96. Now, what am I going to do for the length and the width? Well, to make this easier, instead of using L and W, it says, I can do this. It says length is 4 greater than width. So in the L slot, I could put width plus 4. And then width is just width. Does that make sense? Because it says the length is 4 greater than the width. 4 added to the width, huh? Now it's important that I get it all in terms of one letter because I can't do two, huh? I don't want L and W. I want it all in terms of just one letter. Does that make sense, what I'm doing there? So now, there's just one letter W. So now we can go ahead and distribute. We get W squared plus 4W. (96) is W squared plus 4W. W squared plus 4W. So we get to there. Now, what are we supposed to do at this point?
W alone?
So W squared has reared its ugly head, hasn't it? There it is. The sea monster has shown up on the scene. What do we do when we see W squared? Get a 0. Excellent. Yeah, throughout the next 2 classes, that's crucial. It'll come up all the time. Middle of a word problem, middle of some bigger, fancier kind of problem. All of a sudden, W squared with an equal sign will pop up. You got to know automatically, get a 0. Get a 0. So as soon as you see W squared with an equal sign, step 1 is get a 0. Get a 0. So, all right, so here's the wall. Where do I get the 0? Which side am I going to get the 0 on? Yeah, get the 0 over here, huh? Right? Because bring everything over to the W squared side, leaving nothing on the other side, 0 on the other side. Does that make sense? So, to get that to happen, come down here and subtract 96 from both sides. So what do we got? W squared plus 4W minus 96. Is that good to there? Now, let me come up here. Gotta have a little bit of room. And we're going to solve it. What do we do next? Factor. All right, can you factor? I'll plug in my Apple Pencil by Alex's suggestion and be able to leave it on the screen there. There, that's good. So, solve this. So use your calculator with the 96, right? Remember how to do that? So take that 96. Don't worry about the negative. Look at signs there. Just take 96 on your calculator and just start dividing by numbers. Divide by 2, divide by 3, divide by 4, divide by 5, divide by 6. Until you find a couple of numbers that'll work. What's that? Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, right, yeah. At this point, you could say, yeah, that's that. And what's the other? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Good. Good. Guys doing okay? So take 96 and divide by different things on your calculator, right? Until you get a couple of numbers that can make the 4 in the middle. Is that making sense? So 96 divide. So I would like over here. So 96 divided by 2, divided by 3, divided by 4, divided by 5, divided by 6, divided by 7, divided by 8. You'll get what, 48? And that doesn't work. Divided by 3, I don't know what you get, 20, no, 32. That doesn't work. Because they can't make 4. They got to make 4 in the middle. Divide by 4, you get 24. No way. Divide by 5, you get some crazy decimal. Divide by 6, you get 16. Not going to work. Divide by 7, some decimal. Divide by 8, 12. 8 and 12. There it is. And really, at this point, you could stop. 8 and 12 are the answers. Now, I'll go through the formalities, but it's fine with me if you just stop and go, look, 8 and 12 are my answers.
Oh, so you're doing the same thing you did with the 10 and 12.
Yeah.
You're just taking it out, okay.
I'm just saying, look, it's 8 and 12. I'll go through all the formalities, but it's going to be 8 and 12.
And how do you figure the positive for the 8 and 12 there?
Yeah, I'll go through the formalities, just like I did last time. But I'm telling you, if you want to save some time, middle of the test, 8 and 12 are your answers. How do you know which one's length, though, and which one's width? Because they will ask you, right? They're right here, they say, give me the width, and then they'll say, give me the length.
Because it's 4 greater?
Yeah, which one's greater?
The length.
Length is the greater by 4. So this is the length is 12, the width is 8, huh? Good on that? Kyle?
Okay, so if you have a table, if all the way around is 96, then
No, area is 96. Not all the way around. That's perimeter. Area, space in the middle is 96. Does that make sense? I'll talk about it in a minute. Let's finish up and then I'll address that. So the answers are 8 and 12. Width 8, length 12. Let's get back to here. Now, I'll show you the formalities for those that want to see every jot and tittle. Come back over here. So basically, it's 8 and 12. What signs? Well, the sign in the middle goes on the bigger. But then the next step means you set each of those to 0. Again, this is not required. We already know the answers. But if you want to see all the details, then you set each one equal to 0 separately, remember? Because 2 things times to be 0, either one could be 0. And then it's going to switch signs. Have you noticed these always switch signs? Right? Fine with me if you just want to skip that step. Say, look, negative 8, it's going to be positive 8. Plus 12, it's going to be minus 12, right? Because you always have to get it alone. So now, 8 and negative 12. How about if I measured a table? I measured it. Here we go. I'm going to measure it. How wide is that, Mr. Aaron? It's negative 12. Negative 12. That can't happen in the real world we live in. Remember, math is not real. It's made up. We've talked about that, right? It's made up to describe things that are real, but math doesn't know about the universe in which we exist and the fact that you can't have widths that are negative. Maybe in some extra multi-dimensional universe, you could have negative widths, but not in the world we live in. So we throw that away. By your word problems, you got to keep 1 foot in reality and 1 foot in math. Right? Because math doesn't know. Math is just going, those numbers work. That's all math is doing. Right? That negative 12 works. Well, thank you, math, but in the real world, we can't have a width negative 12.
So it doesn't matter if one of those is negative. You know that it's...
I know that the words about a real-life tabletop can't have negative 12 width. So we throw that away. So the width is 8. Well, then how do we get the other dimension, the length? Well, remember what the length is. It says right here. The length is 4 greater. So the length is 4 greater, 12. So there's what we knew way back here. So I'm saying you don't have to go through all those steps and throw away the negative and da-da-da-da-da. As soon as you get the 8 and 12 here, you can just stop. Say it's going to be 8 and 12. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be 8 and 12. Those are answers. Questions on that? I want to address Kyle's question. We're talking about area here. Remember what area is? Look at the floor. Those are square feet on the floor. Oh, you can't really see them back here. I don't know if you see them up here. These are square feet. Used to be tiles were over this, it looks like. You can still see the marks where the tiles were a little bit. They tried to grind it off. Oh, you can see a little bit down the floor there. Anyway, those are square feet. Right, foot by foot squares. So area is in square units. So when they say the area is not, or they're doing square meters on this one. So when they say the area is 96 square meters and the thing is 8 by 12, what they mean is this whole thing is 8 this way. I don't know if I have enough room to do 8. All right, there's 8 that way, and then it's 12 this way. That'd be 6 on each side. So 3 for each of these. So boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. There, 8 by 12. So they're saying this is 8 squares tall by 12 squares wide, giving you a total of 96 little squares. 96 square meters. That's the area. That's how you measure area. Squares, actual squares. When you buy carpeting or any kind of flooring, you buy it in square units, square feet, square yards, square whatever. They mean little squares. How many squares? So that's what, so it's not just perimeter, it's not just the edges added up, it's the space in the middle. We're talking area on that one. So that's what we figured out. 8 by 12 rectangle will have 96 square meters in it. All right. All right, so length of the top of the table, 3 greater than width, area 70, find the dimensions. So try that. It's pretty much like what we just did. Give that a go. See what you can do.
Half base times width. I mean, half.
For the triangle one?
Yes.
Yeah, half base times height. Yeah. You gotta get rid of that half right away by multiplying this by 2. They might have a lot of money there. Triangle formula is a half times base times height.
Oh.
Yeah, and we'll do that one. And then, yes, right there was an area, it's half base times height. And then you plug the stuff in, but you gotta get rid of that half right away, multiply both sides by 2.
Okay.
And then get rid of that half.
Okay.
And it'll be 2A on the other side.
Thank you.
And they might be the wealthy raiders. They have car again. Is he back, wealthy?
He should be back.
Yeah, they were good with him. It was unfortunate that accident.
Yeah, I know. So we're doing okay. So area is length times width. So it says area is 70. 70 is length times width. What does it say? The length is 3 more than the width. So what do you put in for length? 3 plus W, or W plus 3. Either way, doesn't matter. 3 more means 3 added, huh? Good so far? You wouldn't take that 70 and square it? And get a number?
Oh,
for it?
gotcha. No,
Or
remember, those are just the units. So it's just 70 squares. Remember the squares I showed back on this
Oh.
one? Just like it's 96 squares here. It's just how many squares. You don't need to square that number.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just just leave it 70. Yeah, good question.
For that, wouldn't it be easier to like, not really write a number line, but just like multiply numbers that are 3 numbers apart?
You could try that. Yeah. You could totally do that. So multiply. 70 is 3W plus W squared. We good to there? The W squared, the sea monster, has reared its ugly head all of a sudden. What do we do as soon as we see W squared? Get a 0. Got to be the knee-jerk reaction. As soon as you see W squared, get a 0. Automatically get a 0. So
So get a 0. Here's the wall. So to get a 0, I'm going to subtract 70 from both sides, huh? Is that good? So what do we do now? Factor. Good. Am I racing ahead of you? Is this okay? What multiplies to be 70 and adds to be 3? What times what's 70? 7 and 10. Sign in the middle goes on the bigger. But actually, you could just stop at this point. The answers are going to be 7 and 10. Right? They're going to be 7 and 10. Which one's which? The length is 3 greater. So the length is the 10, the width is the 7. It's fine to just stop right there. Right? Can I just go dot, dot, dot? I've been through the details with you a couple times. The negative one, you throw it away and blah, 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 blah. It's going to be 7 and 10. Right? That okay? Getting a little more comfortable? All right, let's try this. Okay, so the height of a triangle, the base of a triangle. Okay, so you need the area formula for talking about the area of a triangle. So the area of a triangle. Remember what a triangle is? It's half a rectangle, huh? Right? If you have the rest of the rectangle like that, it's half a rectangle. So the area is a half base times height. That's the formula for the area of a triangle. You want to put that in your 3x5 card. Area is a half base times height for a triangle. Okay, so take it from there. So let me help a little bit. So the area is 48. And it says the base is 4 greater than the height. So the base is height plus 4. Right? The base is height plus 4. Is that good? And then you got to get rid of that half. That half's just going to cause problems. So what you do right away, just to get that half out of there, is you just multiply both sides of the equation, right? It's an equal sign. Do the same thing to both sides. It's okay. By 2, gonzo. 2 times 48 is, what, 96? See, I got rid of the half. Do that, because the half will just cause a problem. It'll just mess you up. You don't want fractions, right? You don't like fractions, right? Fractions just cause troubles. Get them out of there. Multiply both sides by 2. So take it from there. It should be normal from there. So the h distributes, h squared plus 4h. Jeremy.
What happened with the one time?
Oh, I multiplied both sides by 2. And remember how 2 over 1 cross-canceled? So,
Okay.
yeah. Or 2 halves as a whole, just made 1. And so it's gone on that side. The other side, it multiplied to 48. So I just multiplied both sides by 2 to get rid of that half. Okay, so okay to there. And so there's h squared. You know, it's reared its ugly head. There's a sea monster. Get a 0. Right? Get a 0. Right away. Subtract 96 from both sides. H squared plus 4h minus 96. So 0 is h squared plus 4h minus 96. So how do we factor that now? Well, use your calculator. Take 96. Here we go again, huh? Did we do 96 already?
We just did it.
8 and 12. Yeah, I remember. 8 and 12. And then we're done. It's going to be 8 and 12. Can we just stop there? The answers are going to be 8 and 12, aren't they? Which one's which? The base is 4 greater than the height. So the base must be the 12 and the height must be the 8. And we're done. Is that okay? Did I go too quick on that? How we doing there? No questions on that one?
So with that half, 1 over 2 on triangles, we're always gonna get rid of that?
Yeah. So with triangles, they're always going to have the 1 over 2, the half, and we're just going to multiply both sides by 2. Yeah, everybody see that crucial step? Right? Julio's right on the money. Everybody see right here. I multiplied both sides by 2. Got rid of the half, and it multiplied the 48 by 2 to be 96. Yeah, that's how you get rid of a half. That'll show up in the next class as well. Same thing. And the class after that. A lot of repeating on that. All right. So 8 and
No, it does.
but it's not. It's the easiest one of all. It looks all intimidating. Projectile is launched vertically upward from ground level with an initial velocity of 176 feet per second. The equation giving its height above the ground is h equals negative 16t squared plus 176t, where h is the height in feet and t is the number of seconds after it is launched. Part A. A. Find the number of seconds till the projectile returns to the ground. B. Find the number of seconds till the projectile is 480 feet above the ground. Okay, so let me write that little formula down. H equals minus 16t squared plus 176t. That's a little physics formula. You guys ever take physics? I think physics is interesting. Chemistry I didn't find as thrilling, but physics I thought was interesting. Physics is much more mathematical, so it's no surprise that I would feel that way. Anyway, so the absolute key to word problems is just being really clear what the letters are. So let's be clear what the letters are, what they represent in the real world. What is H? I mean, what is it? Height in feet. Yeah, that's what they say somewhere up there, huh? There it is. H. H is height in feet. So H is height of the rocket. It's a rocket, right? Projectile. It's a projectile. So they're, I don't know, they're hitting a baseball or hitting a golf ball or shooting a artillery thing, whatever, right? It's anything that you project, right? Throw a baseball, hit a tennis ball, all that kind of stuff, right? And you got that U-shaped travel path, right? They can use these formulas to calculate, Army would, to calculate where artillery will land. This is a projectile formula. Anyway, so H is height of the thing. And what is T? Seconds after launch. Time. Time in seconds. Well said. Okay, now let's go to question A. What's question A? Find number of seconds until it returns to ground. So we're going to shoot this thing straight up, and it's going to come back down and hit the ground. How long until it hits the ground? Well, how are we going to know that? Think with me for a second, real life. When it hits the ground, when that, thing shoots up, look down and hits the ground, plunk, when it hits the ground, do you know anything about its height at that moment? The height is 0, if it's on the ground. How high up is that object? Well, it just hit the ground, so it's up 0, right? Does that make sense? So the minute it hits the ground, its height is 0. So what they're really saying is, hey, stick in a 0 for H. Do you see how they're saying that? Because when the thing hits the ground, the height is 0. So they're saying, just put in a 0 for H. Just put in a 0. And solve that equation. That's part A. We'll do part B in a minute. Does that make sense? Well, you can tell what part B is going to be. Part B, they're going to say, when's the height going to be 480? We'll stick 480 in for height instead of 0. Anyway, let's solve this one first. So now, can you solve that equation? This one isn't quite as easy as I was thinking. I was thinking it was just a plug in a number one. I'm a little off. Now, how do we solve this equation? Yeah, good. Yeah, because whenever you're factoring, you've got to do the GCF, don't you? Good job, guys. And what's the GCF? Like what? Does 176, is that divisible by 16?
Yes.
Yeah, take your calculator and check it. It is, huh? So you can put minus 16 and t in the front, huh? They both have a t. And 16 goes into 176. So you're right on the money. So factor out the minus 16t. Remember when the front's negative, we factor out negative? Remember that? There's so much to remember, isn't there? So what goes on the inside there? So minus 16t times what? T. And minus 16t times
Make a negative.
negative. Good job. What is it, 12? 11? It was 11. Everybody good so far?
Oh, it changed because you did have a negative on the outside. Is that why you've got a negative 11? Because
Yeah,
it
well,
changes?
remember, it's got to multiply and go back, so negative times negative will go back to positive.
Got it,
Huh?
okay.
Good on that?
So how come T ended up positive?
We'll get there. We good to this point? Was it? So what's the next step now? What, two things are timesing to be 0. So each one could be 0. Either one could be 0, right? So the minus 16t could be 0, or the t minus 11 could be 0, right? Isn't that always the next step when two things are timesing to be 0? Right? Either one can be 0 to make them times to be 0. Getting the hang of these steps more and more. Let me bring it over here. So I've got minus 16t is 0, and t minus 11 is 0. Good, good. Now, how do you finish solving for t? This would be divide, right? Because that's minus 16 is multiplied. What's 0 in the top of a fraction? 0. And then the other one? Add 11. Remember, it's just always opposite sign, huh? Getting the hang of those. Those ones are always opposite sign. So we got two answers. 0 and 11. Is that true? What is that? Let's get real. Let's keep real with this thing. What does that mean, 0 and 11? Times 0 and 11. T, 0 and 11. What does that mean? At 0 seconds and at 11 seconds, remember that time is number of seconds after launch. At 0 seconds after launch and at 11 seconds after launch, the thing is at a height of 0. That's what we just solved. We made h 0. Well, yeah, I guess so, huh? At time 0, it's at a height of 0 because it hasn't been launched yet. It's on the ground. And then it goes up and down and hits in 11 seconds, doesn't it? That's what that. So the answer they want is the 11. They don't want the 0. They know it's on the ground at the start. They know it's on the ground at time 0. Am I making sense? They just want the 11. It takes 11 seconds for that thing to come back down to the ground. At 11 seconds, the height will be 0. How do we know? Because we just made h 0 and solved for t, and the t that made it true was t11. T is 11 seconds. The thing will be at a height of 0. So there it is. So we got to do part B still. Is that okay on that? They don't want the 0 answer. They just want the 11. Because 0 is a silly answer. Right? That just says it started on the ground. They're like, we know it started on the ground. At time 0, we know it was on the ground. Tell me when later it was on the ground. 11 seconds later, it was on the ground. Is that okay? Is okay with that? Let's try part B. So part B, for this one, part B now says, find the number of seconds until it's 480 feet above the ground. So use the same formula, h equals minus 16t squared plus 176t. And now they want to know, hey, when's that thing 480 feet up? How long till that thing's 480 feet high? Do a little physics here. So what am I going to do when they say 480 feet high? That's h. So last time h was 0, because they wanted it on the ground, height 0. Now they want it at 480 feet high, so h is 480. Exactly. You guys are doing physics. There we go. So now solve that equation for t. What's the first step on solving that equation? Get a 0. Got to get a 0, right? Always first. Remember when the sea monster rears its ugly head, get a 0. And then do GCF.
Is this the same thing as 2 points on parabola? The trajectory?
Yes, right. Yeah, that's right. Because it'll be at that height going up, and it'll be at that height going down. Does that make sense? So,
Used with parabolas and things?
yeah, this is a parabola. T squared is a parabola. It's a U shape, and it's a negative parabola, it's a U shape going down. It's a parabola. Yeah, anything that is launched that doesn't have its own motor, like a rocket, will do parabolic. All golf balls, all baseballs, all tennis balls, hit, it's a parabolic arch. It's a parabola. Follows a parabolic equation. Artillery, they launch, that doesn't have its own engine. Something has its own engine, it can do whatever. But, yeah, anything that's given an initial bang and then travels under the influence of gravity only will do a parabolic arc. So we get a 0 like that, and then we take out the GCF, right? Which is minus 16, isn't it? So t squared, is that minus 11t? And then plus 30 or something?
Yeah.
Good to there? So take out the GCF, and now keep going. Factor the rest. Does it factor nice? Oh, yeah. I just wasn't seeing it, yeah. Yeah. Kept thinking 3 and 10 doesn't work. 2 and 15 doesn't work. Yeah. It's 5 and 6, right? 5 and 6. So 5 and 6. What signs do we need on the 5 and the 6 to make negative 11 in the middle?
Negative.
Both negative. Good. Good to there so far. And now, what do we always do from here to, once we have the 0 and we have it factored? If a bunch of things are timesing to be 0, any one can be 0 to make that true. Right? Remember the logic? So minus 16 can be 0, or t minus 5 can be 0, or t minus 6 can be 0. Put or, right? This one's silly. Minus 16 isn't 0. Throw that away. There's no letter there. But the other two we can solve. Is this okay? It's always going to be opposite signs. It's going to be 5 and 6, isn't it? Right? Everybody see that? Because when you add 5 now to both sides, t is 5. And when you add 6 now to both sides, t is 6. So we get the answers 5 and 6. Is that okay? See how I solved all that? Is that making sense on those last steps?
So when the projectile was 480 feet above the ground, it will be 5 and 6, the answer?
Let me show you. Let me show you what that means in the real world. But is everybody okay with those math steps? I'll show you real life what that means. Everybody okay? So basically the projectile started from the ground. It was shot up. It reached the height of 480 feet above the ground. This is ground here. Going up and coming down. Going up, it did it at t equals 5 seconds. It came up and then went back down, and 1 second later, it was at that height going down. It was at the height of 480 feet at 2 points in time. 5 seconds going up, and then it started coming down, and after 6 seconds, it was at that same height going down. Does that make sense? It was at that height at 2 points in time. 5 seconds on the way up, 6 seconds it was on the way down. Which means halfway between 5 and 6, at 5.5 seconds, it must have maxed out.
Yeah.
It must have hit its peak at 5.5 seconds. Because at 5, it was 480 going up, 5.5 peak, 6 seconds, it was at 480 going down.
So the total height was greater than 480.
Yes, must be. And you could find that total height. How would you find that total height?
What's the highest point it reached? Well, we know it reached it halfway between 5 and 6 seconds, 5.5 seconds, 5.5. You can just plug 5.5 in for time. Hit the buttons on your calculator, you'd find out the maximum height it reached.
I just knew that.
Plug it in for T.
I just knew it.
I know, but we good.
Oh, the answer to the second part of the question is 5 and 6.
Okay, so you put both numbers.
Yeah, both numbers with a comma. Yeah, so the answer to part B is 5, 6.
For the height thing or the total time, you already have h equals 0. So if you get that, that's the total time it took it to hit the ground again. Half of that.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, what was the total time? 11? Half of that, 5.5. Beautiful, Alex. Good thinking. That's the other way we could have found it. Yeah. Total time to hit the ground again was 11 seconds from part A. So halfway, it must have reached its top. Half of 11, 5.5 again. We've double verification that at 5.5 seconds, it's maxing out. And if you wanted to know that height, you could just plug in T as 5.5 and work it out. You'd find the maximum height that thing's going to reach. Yeah. So we're doing some physics here.
I was thinking about it logically.
Good thinking. I like that. Yeah. So there we go. So you can handle projectiles and their physics formulas. Well, is 4 hours about enough math for you today? That was a lot of math, huh? All right.
Can you please make sure you upload that?
Yes, I will try my best, but sometimes they just refuse to. And I'll try to get with a tech guy, but they sometimes don't come right away. Let me get the clicker thing up here, and we will wrap it up. So we finished, what did we finish? Feels like we finished everything in the world. No. We finished 5, 7. I thought we were going to get to chapter 6, but 5, 7, and 5.8 took a long time. 5, 7, and 5.8 are due as homework tomorrow, Wednesday. And that's the last stuff that's on the exam. We do the practice exam tomorrow and the real exam on Thursday. All right. Polling is open. Yeah. Clickers are